6.03 The Columbian Exchange. There are no required reading pages that go along with this lesson, but please use your student guide, pages 162 to 163 as we go through this lesson, and fill in the questions and answers. Lesson Introduction. The Columbian Exchange. When Europeans began sailing to the Americas, they carried people, plants, animals, and diseases back and forth, and so began the Columbian Exchange, the effects of which changed the world forever. Lesson Objectives. The objectives are not covered in your Human Odyssey book. Please be sure to refer to class notes and your student guide when preparing for the assessment. Define hemisphere. Define the Columbian Exchange. Distinguish between intentional and unintentional consequences. Recognize animals that were introduced to the New World from the Old World and describe their impact. Recognize significant plants that were introduced to the New World from the Old World and describe their impact. And use maps to gain information on the Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange. The Columbian Exchange was the transfer of peoples, diseases, plants, and animals between the New and Old Worlds. The New World refers to the Western Hemisphere, the Americas, and the Old World refers to the Eastern Hemisphere, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Hemisphere. A hemisphere is one half of the Earth. Agriculture in the New World, the Americas. People in the Old World, Europe, had used wheat and made bread for thousands of years. Today, more wheat is grown in the Americas than anywhere else in the world. Corn and potatoes came from the Americas and were food staples, basic foods used for many things, in Europe and Africa. People became overly dependent on the potato in Ireland. Then several potato crops failed as a result of Ireland's dependence on the potato. Up to 1 million people died of starvation, and another million emigrated to the New World. Again, America and the New Worlds, the Americas continued. The European desire for sugarcane led to the largest forced migration in the history of the world. It takes a lot of people to grow, harvest, and mill sugar. Millions of Africans were brought to the New World as slaves to work in the sugar fields. Many animals were brought from Europe to the Americas, but few animals went from the Americas to Europe. Large domesticated animals didn't exist in the Americas before the Columbus Exchange. Diseases. The diseases that Europeans carried with them to the Americas was so devastating to the native population because the native people had no resistance or immunity to the diseases. Actions and consequences of the Columbian Exchange, unintended or intended. So some of the unintended, meaning not on purpose, consequences were: some sailors and conquistadors have had smallpox. They encounter Native Americans who contract the disease and die after infecting their relatives and neighbors who also die. Affluent Europeans buy sugar from merchants in European cities. Millions of people in Africa are kidnapped by African slave traders and sold to European sugarcane planters in the Caribbean. Spanish conquistadors bring their horses with them when they cross the Atlantic. Some horses escape or swim ashore after a ship sinks. The Plains Indians become expert horsemen and buffalo hunters. So those are some of the unintended consequences. Some of the intended, meaning on purpose, consequences of the Columbian Exchange. Europeans bring wheat to the Americas. Wheat becomes a successful crop in several areas. Europeans take potatoes with them when they return to Europe. Potatoes become an important source of nutrition in Northern and Western Europe. Europeans bring cattle with them to the Americas. Cattle ranches become a profitable business, and beef becomes a major food source. And we've come to the end of this flip video lesson. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thank you for joining me. The end.